All right, welcome to the Walker Talks. We are going to cruise through this because we've got so much to talk about.
Yes.
Even though it's only been a week. This week was really fun. It was 4th of July weekend, which we love 4th of July anyway. It's been one of our favorite things. 2 years ago, we did 4th of July in Boston, and that was just such a special 4th of July because it just, like the history, the Boston Tea Party, it like fits so well with the theme of 4th of July. Brooklyn's here.
Hello.
She hasn't said anything yet, and we're 40 seconds into the podcast.
Just letting you do your thing.
They're recording. Yeah, I was just talking. I gotta make sure that we include Brooklyn, though. Anyway, so this 4th of July, Brooklyn is really pregnant. She is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How many months pregnant are you, Brooklyn?
I am over 7 months.
Yeah.
I'm like almost 7.5.
Yeah.
So
she's getting more pregnant, and we recently heard of these things called baby moons, which I just hadn't heard about. This might be a fun fact, things I learned this in a while, but baby moons are when you go on a trip before you have your first baby, so that I don't know, just to celebrate that you're having a baby and stuff like that,
and do a bunch of stuff that's
that
harder
you
to do once you have a baby.
Yeah.
It's like a honeymoon, but a baby moon.
Right, baby moon. Right. So we decided when Brooklyn, just after Brooklyn got pregnant, that we should probably do something like that. Let's do a baby moon. And since we've gotten closer and closer and closer to it, it started ruling out more and more things because we have a certain amount of money set aside for vacations, and we're like, let's use this and let's go do something. Let's go on a cruise was actually one of the first things, because the cruises leave from Long Beach that go to Mexico, and then as we got, it's I don't have my passport. By the time I get my passport, Brooklyn's gonna be really pregnant, kind of thing. and then
I wasn't sure how seasick I would get.
Right.
Because sometimes, I get car sick.
And then also we read stuff about maybe not traveling to Mexico right now.
Well, there's a Zika virus that's going on.
So then we're okay, well, instead of that, maybe we can just fly somewhere domestic. And I looked into a bunch of places and realized that Brooklyn would be really pregnant when we'd be flying too. And it's it's not like she couldn't fly, but as we were getting closer and closer to pregnancy, it's probably not the greatest idea to fly. Anyway.
Also, because if you have the baby out of network, it's
gonna be
nothing
really
is covered,
expensive.
so it'd be expensive.
Yeah.
So
and so we want to make sure that
Kaiser's
we don't have
only in California.
Yeah.
So
and so then it was okay, well, let's go to we'll drive to San Francisco, because there are Kaisers, which is the hospital chain, Kaiser Permanente, the healthcare provider. There are Kaiser hospitals all up the West Coast. And so I was okay, yeah, let's do that. And as we got closer to it, I was you know what? I don't know if that's going to be a great idea either, because there'd be a lot of walking and we kind of be... Anyway, so what we decided 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, is instead of doing any of those things, we were going to have the grandest staycation of all time. And so...
And it
was so much fun. So instead of putting so much money towards hotels, we were able to do things that were more expensive here that we wouldn't normally be able to do. And that was kind of our whole goal for this weekend. And so it's been really, really fun, though. So one of my favorite things is I planned it, and I didn't tell Brooklyn what we were doing. We just did it, because I love planning surprises, and Brooklyn loves being surprised. So it was just, everything was surprises for her, and we'll talk about some of them as we go, because some of them are pretty good. But so we're going to run through this real quick. This one's probably going to take, I don't know, it might take a while, but we just want to talk about it because it's fun. So on the 4th of July, real quick, running up to the 4th. The 4th is on a Thursday this year. So running up to the 4th, I was asked to do a lot more work than normal. So usually I do 5 designs, or 5 solar designs a day, and they are having me do 12 a day for the next 2 weeks, minus the Thursday and Friday of July 4th. So I was just I've just been bogged down with work for 3 days, and and Wednesday, as soon as I was done, I was like, this is it. I'm done. Like, we're going to have a great vacation. Anyway, so it was, so we woke up on the 4th of July and it's like, this is going to be a great,
like a great break.
great break, great weekend. And so here is what happened. The early morning, we woke up and went to the Sabores de Oaxaca, which is that place we've been talking about that's cheap. We haven't actually, the Mexican place that's pretty cheap that we found recently that we were like, oh, it's pretty good, but we're not sure. Anyway, we have been there like 5 times in the last month, like, or more, because they have these great nachos that are just huge. But every time we go there, Brooklyn's like, because she always sees the breakfast menu and there's like pancakes and French toast on it, and she's like, when do you stop serving this? Like, every time we ask. And so for the 4th of July, we started off by walking down the street and getting breakfast at Sabores. And how are your French toasts?
It was all right. They were kind of soggy.
Yeah. Kind
of a letdown.
Yeah. It was like pretty much what you'd expect French toast to be from like a fairly cheap Mexican restaurant. And then I had huevos de la mexicanas. I don't know if that's actually what they're called. Mexican eggs.
Or whatever.
No, it's like kind of like huevos rancheros, but it's just scrambled eggs with jalapeno and onion with beans and rice and tortillas to eat it with. Anyway, it was really good. We liked it. And we'll, but yeah. So this just starts though our chain of eating non-American food on the 4th of July. Though it was just kind of funny, and we'll keep going through it. But so Brooklyn had French toast, which I should look up, but I almost don't think it's actually a French thing, but it says French in it, so
like French fries.
So not
sure that's
not American. I don't know. We need to look that up. And then I had Mexican food, right? Anyway, so after that, we came home, we got ready, and we walked down to the metro station, which is like the tracks trains here, and our metro station is like a 3rd-story elevated station. And so we walked down there real quick. It's about a half mile from our house, and so it's not too bad, but it goes everywhere we want it to go. And so we got on at the we got up to the station, got our tap cards, which are just preloaded cards that let you pay for the rail. And so we got up there and we're sitting there waiting for our train, and all of a sudden, like, we're sitting on a bench underneath a canopy, like a metal canopy, and all of a sudden that metal canopy kind of starts making noise, like kind of shaking a little bit, and we're like, oh, the train's coming in, and then all of a sudden it just like
everything starts swaying.
Everything starts swaying.
So
I mean, like, we're 3 stories up on this platform, and it just swayed, and I was like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden, and then it dawns, it's like we're in an earthquake right now. Like, this is an
and the
earthquake.
buildings across the street, like all the glass was like
shaking. and it wasn't, I mean, it only lasted maybe 10 seconds. Well, maybe like 15 from the time that the canopy started shaking. But then after that, it just swayed maybe for like 10 seconds.
We're like, that was an earthquake.
And it was
the
like,
first one.
Yeah, and I don't know how much it was, how much the sway was impacted about how high we were.
Because I don't know if people on the ground felt it at
right,
all.
the same way as we would have, or if we would have been like driving in a car, if we would have felt that. But it was like, whoa, that's crazy. And so the rest, basically, it was a 6.4.
Yeah,
a 6.4,
at the epicenter, which was
100
really,
miles away.
Yeah, really far away. So
Yeah.
it was like more devastating there.
Yeah, I guess that there were like some fires from broken gas lines, and some roads were broken up a little bit, and there like stuff flew off shelves and stuff, but where we were, it was fine. And so we really didn't think very much more about it.
Yeah. There was a little bit of me that was like, I bet we're gonna come home and like the TV might be on the floor.
Well, but
because it like shook enough.
You didn't even think about that till like
later.
way later in the day,
true.
though. Like till we were coming home.
I wonder what damage there is in our apartment.
But like our first thoughts were like, oh, cool, kind of thing. Like, oh, that was kind of freaky. And like David Jellin texted me and asked if everything, like after he saw the news, Mom called and was like, or didn't call. She texted as well and was just asking what was going on, and everything's fine. But anyway, that was kind of cool. But we took the metro and we rode it we rode it down to to downtown Los Angeles. I mean, this is like not neither here nor there, but part of the line was down, and so we had to actually take a bus from a certain point to the place, but it was kind of fun. And right now the International Anime Expo is going on at the Los Angeles Convention Center.
It was wild.
It was insane. Like our bus took us right past the convention center, and some people on the bus were all dressed up in cosplay, like, and just I mean, there had to have been like hundreds of thousands, right?
Yeah, just so
like 100,000 people at least, like waiting in line to get into the convention center.
Like the most insane
and
costumes
some of them
I've
were
ever
in crazy
seen.
costumes. It was pretty cool though. We're all about, like, we actually like some anime shows. I would not say that we're like huge anime fans, but we like the art style, and like the shows that we've watched have been pretty good, and so that's kind of, anyway, it's kind of cool to see that. But that took us in, dropped us off kind of downtown, and then where'd we go?
Oh, we went to the Grammy Museum, which was cool. So there's like a bunch of exhibits for the Backstreet Boys, which we kind of like just laughed at, like the style.
Neither of us were like
of the 90s.
Like obviously like our sisters, like Brittany.
Like I grew up listening to it only because my sisters listened to it.
Right, and that's like the same with us. Like Jenna listened to Backstreet Boys, and we had CDs, but I was too young to understand it. But like, it's funny, they had like these fan letters from stuff. These were like the traveling exhibits. The stuff upstairs was more like, here are the Grammy styles and the Grammy changes and some clips of Grammy stuff, and then how music's changed over evolved through through time, and that was fascinating.
That is cool.
They had a big
all influence each other. That's what was cool to me.
Yeah, that you look at it and it's like you're looking at jazz or like blues, and how that affects, like, there's so much of that in hip hop, but there's so much of that in rock and roll as well, and how they just like take different pieces of different genres and styles and put them together in different ways. It's like really fascinating.
Yeah.
So after the Grammy Museum, we just started walking through downtown, and headed to a place a couple miles away. A lot of people say Los Angeles isn't very walkable, which is true, but downtown Los Angeles isn't too bad. Like, you can walk around there and get to certain places, go to restaurants, and like you can walk from the Staples Center, which is where that Anime Expo, and close to the museum, the Grammy Museum, which is where the Lakers and the Clippers play. You can walk from there, down to the Civic Center, I don't know, in like 30 minutes. Like it didn't take too long, and it was pretty nice walking. But we walked to a place called the Last Bookstore, which is just a really cool bookstore that we wanted to see.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's it.
It's just like kind of touristy. Like they have cool like book,
displays.
Yeah,
like
book displays.
Artsy
book displays.
It's kind of hard to explain. If you just Google the Last Bookstore images, like you will see what we're talking about, though, like an arch made of books, and anyway, kind of cool. And then from there we walked down to a place called Grand Central Market for lunch, which is kind of this open air, not open air. It's in a building, but it's like a food court basically, but just like this old like market that they turned into a food court, like somewhere where you would go if you lived there in the 1920s and buy your meat and your vegetables, and like a classic marketplace kind of market.
That's cool.
And it was pretty cool, and we ate there. And so since there were so many different kinds of food, like, we got some stuff. So what did you get, Brooklyn?
I got pupusas, which are
What's a pupusa?
El Salvadorian, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's just like a corn thing stuffed with cheese, and I got shrimp in mine.
It's pretty much like a stuffed tortilla.
Yeah.
And they're really tasty.
So that's the third food from a different
country. So El Salvador was the third country that we got. And then I got some, shout out to Jacob, but I got some adobo chicken rice, like Filipino food. It was great.
It was good.
It was all good, really tasty. So we sat and ate real quick. It was so hot in that building, though. It was so hot. And then we walked outside, and there's a breeze, and it's like, holy cow, it's not actually It does not feel like we're dying. But right across the street from that, though, is Angel's Flight, and it's pretty cool. Brooklyn's going to tell you about Angel's Flight because she looked it up and I didn't.
It's basically just this really old railway. It's the shortest railway in the world at like 298 feet. And it's just like this inclined train ride that just goes up this little hill. And it was built in like 1901 or 1902. And you can ride it for 50 cents. And it takes like 50 seconds to get up to the top. And then you get to the top and that's it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. And so...
Yeah, we like doing little dinky things like that. And for 50 cents, of course you're going to do it. And it was just kind of fun. A little bit of history down there.
Yeah.
Because there is, that's something that we've been talking about is Los Angeles, incorporated Los Angeles is newer than Salt Lake City.
Right. So there's like
when,
not a ton of like history.
Here.
Like there is, but there's not. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, but I mean, the Pueblo of Los Angeles has been here for a very long time, but that all kind of got torn down before they incorporated it as a city, and so I don't know. And so not as much history, newer history, but that was pretty cool. So then we walked up, and that was really close to Walt Disney Concert Hall, which is this really cool big concert hall where the LA Philharmonic plays, and they do big things, kind of like Abravanel Hall in Salt Lake, but huge. And the outside is this way cool, like wavy architecture. That's one you should look up as well if you want to see that, because it's just such a cool building. We walked around, and you can get kind of on top of it and walk through some of like the wavy folds of it, and it was just a nice little walk. We walked down to the like the city offices, I guess. What do you call that? Like the city hall. Mm-hmm. And down there was a big like party thing that was going on for the 4th of July. We didn't know what was going on, but that's where the metro to the next place we were going was, and so we hung out there for a little bit and listened to some music. But then we took the metro to Union Station and got on a bus, and this was my favorite like part of the surprises. So we were going to the Dodgers game, and the Dodgers game has a bus that runs from Union Station about 2 miles from the field up to there, and it's called the Dodger Stadium Express. And on the outside, it is plastered with this big blue splash that says Dodger Stadium Express. But Brooklyn, not knowing where we were going, she's just following me through the metro, and then we get out of the building, we walk over to the bus station, and we're just talking and stuff. And luckily, we got there and just got right on. We weren't like sitting outside waiting or anything. But I mean, like people all around us are like decked in Dodgers gear. And we get on the bus, and it's like standing room only, and we're standing there and talking and listening to some other people talk about the Dodgers game and stuff. We get like halfway to the stadium. She's like, "Are we going to a Dodgers game?"
Okay, to my defense, I had been seeing people wearing the Dodger outfits like all day long. Like hordes of people. And so I just thought it's LA, there's a Dodger game going on today, and a bunch of people are just on the bus. I didn't put the two together. Yeah. Also, it was really hot, and I have pregnancy brain, so I wasn't being super observant.
No, but it was like...
I was like, oh, I'm an idiot.
No,
of course
definitely not. It was funny when she realized it, because it was just like,
yeah.
Oh. And I was like, yeah, I think that was one of the better surprises of the week. But we got up to the Dodgers game, and that was so much fun. Like, neither of us are huge baseball fans.
Yeah. Well, and that's another reason why it's like you've never talked about going to like baseball games, or you don't really follow them at all. Baseball. So I didn't think about it.
But what's more American than baseball?
Exactly.
On the 4th of July? Nothing. Just kidding. There are other things that are more American. But it was just kind of what we decided to do, and they were doing a big fireworks program afterwards. So we went there, and it was really fun. Also, we got off the bus early on accident, and they're like, "Oh, you have to walk all the way around to a different ticket entrance to get in, but you have to go up all these stairs." And then the lady looked at Brooklyn and was like, "But since you're pregnant, you can go through here and take the elevators." And we're like, "What?" Like, it was it's the first time that that like
Someone's
somebody
publicly
has,
just like acknowledged that I'm pregnant.
and then also said like you're gonna get a benefit because you're
yeah,
pregnant.
it's like
kind of
yes.
thing. So
perks.
we got through, and the faster ticket line, because upstairs it's like a long line, and so we got through the faster ticket line, and then took the ride up. It was really cool, and the game was fun.
It was really fun.
We got a Dodger dog and a pretzel, some cotton candy that a guy was hawking. So he's walking up and down the stairs going, cotton candy, M&Ms. We're like, we'll take some cotton candy. Oh yeah, lots of beer, but we didn't drink any though.
No.
But they sell a lot of it. A lot of people around us were. But
Which leads us to our next thing.
oh well, yeah, we'll get there in a second. Anyway, it was really fun. The Dodgers won. They beat the Padres really bad, but it was just cool to be in a major league. I've never been in a major league baseball stadium, so that was pretty fun. Anyway, but after the whole game, the fireworks show was so cool, and the best timed fireworks show I've ever experienced. Like, oh wait, actually, this going back to the first of the game, they sung the national anthem, and like I didn't even know this was gonna happen, but then they had a flyover, and it was also the best timed flyover of all time. Like I mean, they're hitting that last note on the national anthem,
And they
and then it's just
flew
like
over
right over, and we're like on the top deck. It just like they were so.
And they have the military like rolling out the flag and like
Yeah.
waving it.
Oh,
it was so cool.
It was really inspirational. And then for the fireworks show, it was really well timed, like where the fireworks are booming at the right times in the songs that we're playing.
Yeah,
Like
it
I've
was
never
cool.
I've never actually been to like a really, really well timed fireworks show, and that one was really fun.
It was cool.
And it made you it like was also really inspiring. We love the 4th of July, and we love America.
Patriotism.
We are patriots. But not Patriots fans. Don't get that confused.
I knew you were going to have to say that.
Well, we have to because I detest the Patriots. So, but so after that, we go back to get on the Dodgers Express. But now there's like there's hundreds of people that are trying to get out at the same time. So a really long line. Buses were taking forever to get there. Anyway, we finally get on a bus, and we're standing there. And Brooklyn's like, it smells like someone threw up. And then we like look down at the seat right next to us, and someone had just like puked all over the seat,
Just everywhere.
Oh, it was pretty gross. But it was, somebody started like, the person who had done it and her friends, they kind of started like laughing about it and joking, and then people behind started joking, and
Because we're all like just smelling this nasty.
yeah, and it was like we were
barf.
all like tired and it stank, and
We're all
but it was
jammed
kind
in
of
there.
interesting though how like people laughed about it more so than like we're really mad about it, and it was just kind of a fun.
Because it could have gone
It was
either
a good
way.
experience. It was a funny experience.
It was funny.
Anyway, then we just got on the metro and headed home and went to bed.
Yeah. So that
Anything
was-
else happened that day?
No. That
Dodger
was
game,
July
throw
4th.
up on the Dodger Express. Okay. Anyway, so the next day, so again, all this whole weekend is the baby moon. So the next day, July 5th, we get up early and we hop in the car and I start driving. Brooklyn has no idea where we're going, but we get halfway to the first place we were going. And she's like, "Are we going to Blinky's?" Which is a donut place that we've been to before, and that was where we were going. So not a huge surprise there. She knew we were going to Blinky's. Blinky's donuts are awesome. I don't know if we've ever done opinions on this, but we wouldn't have. I'm actually going to put this in the opinion section. We'll come back to Blinky's, but Blinky's is delicious. And then after I misspelled it when I put it in the
Billikens.
in the outline that I do so that we remember it. So that's funny. Anyway, so we went to Blinky's, got some donuts, started driving. Oh, we had cereal for breakfast. We had Reese's Puffs. So we had Reese's Puffs for breakfast because I did a breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. No, that was the next day. So we had a
It was a rough
very
day.
sugary morning. Well, we didn't eat all of our donuts right away. We kind of like let them last throughout the day. So, but we drove there, and then we started driving, and then Brooklyn was really surprised when we got to where we were going, which was Santa Barbara, and it's a really pretty city.
It was
Like
so
I thought
beautiful.
it was definitely a big highlight of this weekend. We got up there around 10 o'clock, got some parking at the beach, walked around, and saw that there were people kayaking in like this harbor area, and we're like, let's do that. Like, I want to do that. So I looked up how much it was. I was like, we have the money for this. And so we went, and
It was so fun.
it was so much fun. So we got a tandem ocean kayak, and right away we like paddling out of this little harbor area, and there was this like floating dock, like a floating platform, like the one at East Canyon, or they have them at a lot of places where it's just offshore enough, and you get up and you jump off and play around on it, whatever. But there was one, and there were seals on top of it, and so we
and
just
a seal like floating
seal
around
in the
our
water.
canoe or our
Yeah,
kayak.
I mean, we got close enough. Like, if Brooklyn would have reached out quickly, we probably could have touched them. I mean, like, we were so close to them. They're just
We
sunbathing
just
on
kind
the
of like
docks.
stare back at you.
Yeah, and then the seals in the water, they were just kind of swimming around us, and they'd surface, and we're like, oh, seals.
We overheard somebody saying like once a baby seal like jumped up on her kayak.
On her,
and
yeah.
They're just like friendly
Yeah.
little seals.
And I bet especially in that harbor where they see people a lot. But so we saw some seals, and then we kept going, and there's this old like oil rig drill boat, which was a really cool boat to see, but it had to have sat there for years and was just covered in pelicans, and by extension pelican poop, and it was the stinkiest
It
thing
reeked so bad.
ever. But we're looking at all the pelicans, and we kind of had, I don't know, the current was kind of pulling us towards the pelican boat, and as we got a little closer, we were all looking at the pelicans, and I was like, I don't think we should be so close to these pelicans, because they're big birds and they like are freaky looking.
If anything's gonna attack us today, it's probably pelicans.
Yeah, I mean, pelicans are the closest things to a dinosaur I've ever seen, and so I think they would probably be the first to try to chomp on us. Anyway, so we like backed up a little bit, but they were so weird. They were like stretching out when they stretched their neck and like their pouch. I don't know what you call that. Their
pouch thing,
pocket
I don't
in
know.
their mouth. They stretch up sometimes, but sometimes they would put it down and they'd like stretch it over their neck.
It's so
it was
gross.
so gross. It was so freaky. But we've only seen, I think we talked about it last week. Last week was the first time we'd seen a pelican ever, and then we saw 1,000 of them. Like, and it was pretty cool.
It was awesome.
And then they told us that some of the best places to row to is this like blue buoy, and we rowed clear out into the ocean to this blue buoy.
Green.
Oh, it was a green. It was a green buoy.
Not that it matters.
Whoa. I was imagining green and saying blue. That was pretty bad. But we got out there, and there were sea lions up on the buoy and like just sunbathing, and they're like diving around it and stuff. So we got really
Like
close to
barking at
those.
us.
Yeah, they like barked. That was really fun. And then when we were coming back in, there was this one sandy outcrop that I was like, I want to try and like go into the waves there, because that's where the waves were cresting, and they talked about like being in the waves is okay. Usually if you get sideways in a wave, it's going to tip you off, but like it shouldn't be a big deal. And anyway, we got in there, and one of the first waves, we were just rowing clear into the beach, and one of the first waves like picked us up and pushed us a little bit, not like super far,
But we don't know how to keep our
well it pushed us, and then it tipped us over, and
right,
so
because we don't know how to like correct
and we were
it.
close enough where we just kind of pulled the kayak up onto the beach. We didn't have a watch, and so we needed to ask somebody for the time anyway, and so talked to him, and I was like, we should try and surf these kayaks. And so we got in, and we like Moana'd out, which is like, I don't know, like in Moana where she like tries to do it the first time and then she gets crushed and pushed back to shore or whatever. It was like that. We're like breaking over these waves and stuff.
They weren't that big waves.
They weren't very big at all, but it felt like that. It was like, whoa. And then anyway, we got out there, we kind of turned around, and the first time we really tried to catch a wave, we caught a wave, and it took us a long way, and it was like a really good wave, but we still didn't know how to like keep our nose pointed forward or how to turn or anything. And so we went for a while and then got tipped over. But it only happened twice.
Yeah.
Well, we caught a couple waves. Oh, we caught one wave that pushed us, but we were a little high on it, and we came off the back of it, and that was cool. And then we tried one more time, and we were going fast, and we tipped over.
It's like kind of freaky.
Yeah, it was fun though, and we tipped over, and my paddle like accidentally hit Brooklyn on the head, and like the kayak. And anyway,
I was like, we should
we're
probably
like,
be done.
maybe we'll not do this anymore.
It was
But
like soaking wet.
but kayaking on the ocean was one of the coolest things. Like
was cool.
like would push us to get kayaks or a kayak to go ocean kayaking for ourselves.
We've like
because-
seriously been looking
yeah,
into
because
it.
it's super fun. so that was really good. Basically, that's all we did in Santa Barbara. We went to In-N-Out, which we'll talk about later, but went to In-N-Out, and then we drove home for some of it on the Pacific Coast Highway, which is just the one that follows the beach. And it was way cool to see the beaches, and there were a bunch of campers on the beaches, and I'm like, we should do that one day. Just like get a camper, put on the beach, stay there for a week, and ocean kayak.
That would be so fun.
Anyway, but we did, because we weren't sure, or we didn't know exactly how the kayaks and stuff worked. We'd put sunscreen on most of our bodies, but not on our feet because they were in socks or in sandals kind of thing. And we had to take our shoes off to do the kayak, and the tops of our feet got
so
burned.
And then my knees,
and
like the
Brooklyn's
knees
did too.
And my
so
shoulders.
put on
Oh my
sunscreen. Remember to put on sunscreen.
Yeah, I always underestimate the importance of it until I have like a
sunburn.
mad sunburn, and it's like still hurting right now.
Yeah. So we did that, and that was pretty much that day. We came home and relaxed. We watched the first episode of Psych, because that takes place in Santa Barbara. And then when we were watching Psych, we're sitting there, and there's just like the house shakes a little bit, and I was like, dude, that was an earthquake. And Brooklyn's like, really? Like, are you sure it wasn't like a truck or something? Because it shook, and I could feel it sway, that first one.
Yeah.
And I paused Psych because I was like, no, do you feel that? And then we started it again, and then it started shaking, and I paused it. And I was like, no, it's like shaking in, and it started like the whole house started rocking. Things started falling off the shelves and stuff, like just a couple things. But Brooklyn like turns to me just wide-eyed.
Like, what do we
she's
do?
like,
I've never been in an earthquake before.
Yeah, like what do we do? And I like stood up and like was like, do we get like let's get in a doorway? We didn't know.
I didn't know if that's like outdated information.
Yeah,
like, is there somewhere else we should be?
But I was also, I was just like, we were just relaxing, watching a TV show. I was just in my garments, and and like one of the biggest things that was running through my head, because I felt like we need to get outside. I was like, but I don't have pants on, kind of thing.
Like his biggest concern.
But anyway, it was definitely scary. That was one that was like, holy cow. We spent basically the rest of the night looking up what to do in an earthquake, what supplies do you need for earthquakes, just in case. And so we're going to spend the next little bit.
Because I've heard that aftershocks can in some cases be worse than the initial earthquake.
Right. And so we like wanted to make sure to just know what was right. And in the next little while, we're definitely going to stock up on some emergency stuff, because it was like, holy cow, like that. Earthquakes are interesting, and Dad called right after that earthquake, and was just like, you okay? And I was like, yeah. But I talked to him and just said, like, earthquakes are scary because it's not like fires, like forest fires. A lot of the time you have warning. Even with like tsunamis, you have warning a lot of the time. With hurricanes and tornadoes, you kind of you know what the weather's like and the possibilities of it. But with earthquakes, it's just
like
instant, and like it's just you can't predict it, and so there's a lot of like kind of chance to it and random things, and it's just a little scary.
Yeah, so back in the 90s when it hit, it was like 92 or something, the last like really big earthquake in LA. My art lead said that he and his roommate were like thrown across the room, like everything in the whole room it's like they picked up the room and just like shook it. Yeah. And so it's like you just have no way of knowing what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but this is not to scare anybody.
Yeah, I think you'll be okay.
And it's like earthquakes are, I mean, they happen every day here, basically. Little ones, and sometimes they're big ones, but not all the time. And so, anyway, we're okay. Our house is fine. But it was like a really eye-opening experience. It was kind of scary. But anyway, we did go to sleep that night, even though we were a little scared. And then the next day, we woke up, and I mean, by this point, I was tired. We've done week. 2 days of like walking and kayaking and traveling and getting sunburned. So this day, again, we woke up later than I wanted to, but I made some breakfast. We headed out to our first thing, which was going to the Griffith Observatory, which is a big observatory up on the hill here. And it was really cool, but we got out a little later than I wanted to because we needed to be somewhere else at 1. And so we basically parked, walked up. It took 15 minutes, and we had 30. So we walked up, took a picture, and like walked back out, kind of thing. Like it it wasn't. We'll go
fun.
back to make it a legitimate experience, but it's a pretty place. And then at 1:00, we went to Warner Brothers studio for like a studio tour, and that was really cool.
It was cool. They took us all around like the Gilmore Girls set, and it's just amazing how they're able to recycle sets. So like, they told us about all the different movies that were filmed in the same sets, and like, it's just cool because everything is basically like gutted, and then once they have a show that they're filming, they'll like put in the doorknobs and put in the like the light fixtures,
Right.
and put in the props and stuff to like make it time relevant.
Yeah,
but it's just really cool.
It is interesting. That was the place that we thought was the most interesting, was this place called Anytown USA or Midwest Town, or I can't remember. I mean, they had a couple different names for it, but
it basically works.
It was Stars Hollow, so basically they used it for Stars Hollow and Gilmore Girls, but also it was the town in The Music Man, and a bunch of James Dean scenes were shot in that same town,
like
La La Land, and then one house that had three different sides. That like one side was the Drew Carey house, and the other was Phoebe from Friends' parents' house, and the other side was like a house from Seinfeld. Like that they reuse everything, and I mean tons of stuff filmed there though. I mean like,
and just the camera work they're able to
The
make
Great
you think.
Race. Which is one of Brooklyn's like
it's such a good
family's
movie.
favorite movies, but there's a part where there's like that was filmed, and then there's like they're like, oh, this is the window in Gremlins that the lady shoots out of, and all these different.
But you would never know, like, oh, that's Gilmore Girls set. Like,
yeah, you almost
they
wouldn't
make
be
it
able to
look
look at
so
it.
different. It's like a new coat of
Yeah,
paint.
like Brooklyn was saying, like there's no doorknobs, there's no there's no signs, there's no identifying features, because they change it out so that they can. Yeah, sorry, you said this already. That there's like, so it can be different periods.
Yeah,
like you drive past Luke Steiner from Gilmore Girls, and it's like
you would never know.
You never know because it has none of the identifying features of that, because they've changed it for other things. But it was really cool. There's that. There was a place where they had a bunch of the Batmobiles, like from the movies, like cool. The ones that can actually drive. They had the Batmobiles there, which was way cool. Like they had the Dark Knight Batmobile, like the Tumbler, and the motorcycle that he rides, and then they had the old 1960s Batmobile, like tons of them. It was really
the
cool.
whole room was full of drivable cars,
Batmobiles.
But it's like you just think that it was all CG or something, but it's not. They're like real cars.
It was cool. Really cool. So we went there, and then there's some rooms that they took you through that were like props from the Harry Potter movies.
And I don't think I've posted about this yet on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
If you guys have been following, I've been trying to like post all this stuff.
Yeah. So. The Harry Potter props were really cool. Just to see things from the movie, and I don't know, it's just like when you see things, even though they're just props and probably not like they're probably not even that high quality of a thing necessarily.
It's like Voldemort wore that robe.
Yeah,
like, that's so cool.
It's just cool. I don't know. It's a weird thing to like think about and see, but that was pretty cool. And there were other things, some experiences. Like one was a forced perspective table, which is how they make Gandalf look so much bigger than Bilbo in The Hobbit. It's what they did in Lord of the Rings in general. Whenever they filmed scenes where it wasn't a wide shot, but kind of like a close up of a hobbit,
like sitting in the same cart.
Yeah, like the cart is really cool. This wasn't here, but you should look up the forced perspective of the cart when Frodo and Gandalf are riding into Hobbiton in the first Lord of the Rings, because it is really interesting to see just the way that camera works, like for them to be in the same scene. It's amazing.
It is cool.
Anyway, so there's just some cool movie stuff, and we got our little Warner Brothers magnet, and that was fun. And then we went home because we had a little picnic, which was kind of fun. And Brooklyn loves picnics.
I'm always telling Matt, like, let's go on a picnic. He's like, that sounds like the worst thing ever. I hate sitting on the ground. Like, why don't we just eat food at home or at a restaurant? And so,
but I planned a picnic.
So yeah,
he
surprised me with the picnic,
and it was actually really fun. We made some of Scott Walker's world famous chicken salad, and then put it in a pita. So it wasn't actually like a sandwich.
It was good though.
But it was good. Yeah, of course. That's like one of my favorite chicken salads. Thanks, Dad. But anyway, we did that, and then we went home because I just like we had 2 hours or 3 hours before the next thing, and I just like was like, I'm not gonna make it if I don't go take a nap real quick. So I went home and took a nap, and then we went to
the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
It was so cool. So it's like the Broadway version.
Yeah, like
musical.
the touring Broadway version of it.
Yeah, it was.
At the
It was
Pantages
phenomenal.
Theater.
Like the best Phantom of the Opera I've ever seen. Like better than the movie.
It was
in some ways.
Yeah, it was so good.
So good.
It was really fun.
The voices were just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
I loved it, and Brooklyn and I have this conversation a lot about the difference between experiences, like paying for experiences versus paying for things. And I'm much more inclined to buy things than I am to buy experiences, because I feel a lot of the time that things lead to experiences, right? Whether I pay for, you know, a new Xbox or I pay for or like an ocean kayak or something like that, right? I'm buying something that I'm going to use and enjoy. But we talk about things like a Dodgers game or a going to the Phantom of the Opera or a Warner Brothers studio tour being like money that you pay for the experience, and that experience
you don't get anything
benefits
like,
you, but you don't get anything technically physical out of it. Going to Phantom of the Opera was one of those things that's like maybe changing my mind a little bit on it, because
and I asked him that at the end. I was like, so now that we've had this week of experiences,
yeah,
how do you feel about like
paying? Because it is really cool, and it makes you feel, I think it takes you outside of yourself a little bit to experience things with other people doing things.
It's like traveling. It's like you don't bring back anything with you other than like just the feeling of being there. And
yeah, I don't know. Cool. It's really interesting. The jury's still out a little bit, but it's definitely leaning more towards experiences, which both are good. But it's just, this was a really, really fun weekend. So basically, that was all we did today. We're gonna watch some movies and just relax before I have to go back to my 12 CAD, my 12 design days this week. It's just gonna be crazy. But we did. Also, last week we talked about we got called into nursery, and this week we did our nursery calling for the first time, and it was actually really fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, the kids are really cute. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I just was, I don't know, scared of nursery. Can you
scared of kids?
I don't know, scared of yeah, I don't know, taking care of kids that won't listen to me.
That aren't your kid.
That aren't my kid. And I don't even have a kid. I don't know. Anyway. So that was basic. Man, we are running long.
Yeah, sorry guys.
43 minutes. We still have stuff to talk about though. Real quick, baby is healthy. Brooklyn is glad that we didn't go into labor.
Yeah, I kept thinking like, what if I go into preterm labor and it's during this week and like we planned all these things. I just don't want it to happen.
And it didn't. So
it's kind of like when I went to Utah. I was like, what if I go into labor like just during the most inconvenient time?
Yeah.
So
anyway,
we're good.
So
baby's
healthy,
still there,
and still in Brooklyn. So then, really quick to the opinion segment. We got to hit on some of these first. So we went to In-N-Out, and I just want to talk about In-N-Out. So Brooklyn and I were both in high school or middle school when In-N-Out came to Utah.
It was all the rage.
When In-N-Out came to Utah, there was this hype around In-N-Out that you cannot believe. And I mean, a lot of you that are listening to this also lived in Utah when this happened. But for us, it was like it got talked up so much because people only In-N-Out when they went to California. A lot of people from Utah vacation in California, and they just say, "Oh, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good." In-N-Out came. I went to In-N-Out. I was like, "This is a burger. It is a hamburger and fries. And is it the best hamburger I've ever had? Absolutely not. Are they the best fries I've ever had? No. Why is everyone about this? But now living in California, this actually hasn't changed it, but it did make me think a lot more, and we like In-N-Out. In-N-Out is actually fairly good. It's not terribly expensive, and it's a good hamburger, and it's a consistently good hamburger.
Yeah, they're good hamburgers.
They're good hamburgers. I would rate it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, but the hype is still just insane.
But
like,
it's
even
not,
here,
it's the hype that is weird.
The line to like
the
drive-through is like it will wrap around buildings and like all the way around the street. It's like, dude.
So it's like is
it really worth it?
Yeah, In-N-Out is, but it is really good. I'd say 8 out of 10. I think that, and I drop it mostly because it's just a burger. Like, great. It's a good place though. We'll go there fairly frequently, but in and out, it's pretty good. Okay, next, Dodgers games. Like I think that this is more talking about Major League Baseball. Well, I don't know, baseball games. I haven't, since this is the only Major League Baseball game we've ever been to. It was awesome, very fun. Like it's really engaging if you're there with somebody you like I like Brooklyn a lot. It's really fun just talking and listening to the music and watching people play baseball. Baseball is a really passive watching experience, so it's just like, when something's about to happen, you watch a pitch, like it's not like you're missing something or anything. And it was, I don't know, it was 3 hours long for it. Yeah. 3 hours. But it was really fun just to be there, and you're cheering with people. I think sports games in general are a really good experience, but the Dodgers game was really, really fun. Like, you're there, it's the biggest stadium in the league. It can sit 57,000 people, and it was a full house that night, and it just was like 57,000 people rooting for a baseball team or just experiencing it. I don't know, it's really cool. I would go to other Dodgers games. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna rate it right now because I can't really put it on a real good scale, but I would go back like 100% if you can get good ticket or cheap tickets, kind of thing. So then Phantom of the Opera, like we said, we're just gonna glaze this real quick because Phantom is so good. It's a great musical in almost every form. Like, we enjoy
very high production quality, like the lights and the
this
stages, the sets.
But Phantom of the Opera in general, though, like the movies,
the music, great.
Like we like Phantom of the Opera a lot, even though the Phantom is like way messed up. But I think that's the point.
Yeah, it's a really sad kind of like demented story.
Yeah, but you just have to think about it.
He's like a psychotic.
I think that's kind of the point, though. Isn't it that line that she says where it's like, you're not disfigured on the outside, you're disfigured in your soul or something.
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact line, but basically it makes you think like he's not this way because, like, he thinks that
nobody loves
been
him
made this way because of other people. But it's really kind of just like he made himself that way when he could have.
The true monster like lies within.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just thought. That might be completely wrong. But just thinking about it, we like Phantom of the Opera a lot. 10 of 10 on Phantom of the Opera. Would recommend. Next is Blinky's Donuts. Blinky's is so good. It's a long way from here, so that's kind of hard to give it full marks. But just for us, Blinky's itself is really delicious donuts. They have a good variety, and they're substantial, but they're soft, so they're not like a cake donut. It's like a substantial donut.
I got a cinnamon roll that had like chocolate and chocolate chips on top.
Right.
It was amazing.
And I got a maple bacon Blinky's donut, and the core donut that they have, like their just base donut, is just a really, really good donut. Because like a Krispy Kreme donut, they are really like unsubstantial. They just don't have a lot of substance to them. Like you bite it and it's like, I just ate flavored air. Like it's just kind of like dissolves in your mouth kind of thing.
Cotton candy.
And that's good. Like I love Krispy Kreme. But these donuts are like, they are good. They have good taste. Their frosting is really tasty. They have a lot of good ideas. Blinky's, if anyone's ever in California, we will take you to Blinky's Donuts. Yes. So that is it.
That's a wrap. Sorry it's so long.
The longest Walker Talk of all time. But we love you all, and we'll see you around.
Bye.